G'day, I'm Paul. Welcome to summer in Melbourne, freezing and wet. This is the updated Hyundai Palisade. While I guess the world is moving towards people movers again, or slowly they're kind of coming back into fashion, these still reign supreme because people like the higher ride height and the fact that you can get this in 7 or 8 seats as well. And it's just been facelifted. So I'm going to run you through all the changes, take it for a spin and see if it's any good. Now this here is the Elite, so it's the entry-level front-wheel drive petrol V6. It's priced at just under $66,000. This competes with things like the Mazda CX-9, Toyota Kluger, the Nissan Pathfinder. Today we're going to do a detailed review of this car, so if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, press the bell icon. Every new subscriber will make me slightly warmer. Now let's talk about exterior design first. You've got 9 colors to pick from. All but white is going to set you back just under $700. 2 of those colors are unique to the top spec Highlander. Now, the facelift, our good friend Oscar, who we spent a fun day out with to raise money for charity, really loved this. And if you want to see his video, you can click up there to watch that. I love what they've done here because the previous generation, I thought it looked good, but not really amazing. And the whole split headlight design didn't really work for me. This, on the other hand, it looks fantastic. And in the right colors, this sort of black highlight they've got really just gives it this sinister look. So you've got this enormous grille here, big Hyundai logo there in black with radar sensor down the bottom. And sorry, the car's so dirty, weather has just been atrocious. Up the top here, you've got the LED indicator and then LED daytime running light. This is actually where your headlight cluster is, so it's full LED headlights there. Little air gap here that comes out behind that section there in front of the wheels. I like this section down the bottom here as well. So again, they've restrained themselves from using too much chrome. This is like a shadow chrome finish. Whip around to the side here. So down here, you've got a set of 20-inch alloy wheels. This design looks really nice as well. So machined finish on the outside and then a graphite look on the inside there. Wheel arch cladding. I did mention earlier, this is front wheel drive only for the petrol V6. A real shame because I would love to see the petrol V6 available in all-wheel drive. You can only get the all-wheel drive with the diesel, but you know, it is what it is. Up the top here, you've got an indicator built into that wing mirror. Have a look at that design. That's pretty cool. Little edge on it just there as well. Now this is available with the 360 camera in the top spec. This only has a reverse camera, but under here you do have puddle lamps. That black section continues all the way down the side of the car with a bit more of that shadow chrome. Just noticed there as well, that's not the best finish in the world. That panel sort of sticks out quite a bit compared to the rear ones. So, privacy glass, you've got a set of roof rails just here and then whip around to the back. It is a long way to walk to the back as well. So 3.8, which designates the petrol engine. Full LED tail lights in here as well. They look great at night time. Shark fin aerial up the top. Little boot lip spoiler there with the brake light integrated into there. Palisade in big lettering there as well. And then sort of dual exhaust pipes down the bottom. So let me know what you reckon about the design here of the Palisade. Do you think this updated, refreshed design looks good? I actually think it looks really nice and meaty and has really cool presence on the road as well, which you probably don't associate with a family-sized SUV. So we are inside the Palisade. We'll start off with the key. So you've got lock, unlock, boot, remote start, and then Hyundai on the back. This is a proximity sensing key, so that can live in your pocket. Once you're inside, you have a push button start just there. Yeah, look, I quite like the design of this. I love the fact that there's no analog gauges here ahead of the driver, even on the base model. And they've gone to a bit of effort here with soft touch finishes just to really give it a nice and premium look. And same story down here. Limited use, or actually no use aside from around the display here of piano black, which is very nice to see. You don't really feel like you're just spending money on the base model here. It actually looks pretty well equipped. In terms of your touch points, so all that stuff along the dashboard's great. Here, it's firm but soft and softer on the door. How soft is it? Well, we've tested the main surfaces in this cabin with our gyrometer. If you want to see how this car compares to other cars that we've tested before, look at the link in the description below. Now, build quality. It's not too bad. All feels okay, aside from that sort of door issue that we mentioned earlier. It all feels okay. Door test. Sounds pretty solid. Let's talk infotainment. So you've got two main displays ahead of the driver. You have this 12.3-inch infotainment display, and then another 12.3-inch display that gives you critical car information. This one's a touchscreen. This one is not a touchscreen. I really like this Hyundai infotainment system from a clarity point of view. It's a really high resolution screen. Everything is very nice and easy to read, and it's very fast as well. If I go back here to the main menu, getting between these sections is really quick and easy. No dramas there at all. So you get inbuilt satellite navigation. Hyundai's now rolled out a thing called Blue Link as well, which is standard in Palisade. So it gives you the option to make SOS calls and also connect with your car remotely using an app to check status and do all those sorts of fun things. In addition to that, on the smartphone mirroring front, I have no idea why they do this, but it's still not wireless smartphone connectivity. So you have to use a cable for both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which I think is a little bit disappointing, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. I'll show you what Apple CarPlay looks like. So big full screen integration there, which is one of the big benefits of it at the very least. And this is what Android Auto looks like. This is a weird one. So it's not a full screen integration, and Hyundai previously explained that it was a limitation of Samsung and not them. But I've seen plenty of cars now that have full widescreen Android Auto integration. So I don't know, it's a weird Hyundai thing that we constantly see. On the radio front, you have AM, FM, DAB, digital radio, and that's all plumbed through a 12-speaker Infinity branded sound system. Good sound system, it all sounds great. I love these features as well on the infotainment system. You have passenger talk, so when I push that, I can actually project audio to the third row so they can clearly hear what I'm saying, which I think is a really cool feature. You have quiet mode, which restricts audio just to the first row, so kids can sleep in the back if they need to. You also have the ability to control your third zone of climate for the second and third rows, and you also have a voice memo function as well, along with a valet mode too. Screen ahead of the driver here, so that all changes display when you change drive modes, and then outside of that you can rifle through all the settings in the center display as well pretty easily too. Another high resolution screen, I love that functionality. It does miss out on a couple of features though. You don't have the camera that pops up there when you put the indicator on. That is restricted to the top spec version. And then another random feature as well, it's not really infotainment-ish, but there's no auto wipers. Like, it's a $65,000 car without auto wipers, which I just find completely bizarre. Let's talk safety tech. So you have autonomous emergency braking. It comes with a feature called junction assist. So if you try and turn across oncoming traffic, it's going to hit the brakes for you. You have an auto dimming rear vision mirror, blind spot monitor, built into the wing mirror just there. You have radar cruise control. You also have a lane centering function. We'll test that later on to see how well that works. Rear cross traffic alert, both front and rear parking sensors, and a reverse view camera. I'll show you what that looks like. Quality isn't amazing. It's kind of blurry on the outer edges there. You can kind of see what's going on there on the suitcase, but not really too much. You can then go for a sort of supersized view there if you're connecting a trailer, which makes it a little better, but you can see there isn't really a great deal of definition on it. And our horn test, have a listen. Sounds very prestigious. Moving on to practicality, and we'll start off with your connectivity. So you've got one USB-A port here. This is where you connect your smartphone mirroring. You've got a wireless phone charger there. Down here, you've got a USB-C port and a 12-volt outlet. Your phone can live there on the wireless charger. There are stacks of storage spaces for it, which is really good. In terms of storing other things, what about your coffee cup? So it lives nicely in there, and these things are retractable as well, so you can whip those out of the way if you do want a little bit more space down there, which is cool. In terms of bottle storage, bottle fits into there. There are teeth, but you can see here that a standard size bottle just sort of rolls around a fair bit. Fits inside the door though, which is good news. And then also have space for a big bottle, but fortunately it doesn't fit inside the door. Other storage, you have big old center console here. In here you're going to find another USB-C port and another 12-volt outlet. You also have a coin tray. You've got a glove box over here. And finally, you have some storage down the bottom here as well. So there are stacks of places to store all the kids' things. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, you can be a helicopter parent as well if you do want. A little mirror built into there instead of a sunglasses holder. Let's talk comfort. You have dual zone automatic climate control here for the front row, plus an additional zone for your second and third rows. Heated seats for the front row. In terms of seat adjustment, the driver's seat is electrically adjustable. You can go forwards, backwards. Backrest can go forwards, backwards. Front of the seat can go up, back of the seat can go up, and you also have lumbar adjustment. Passenger seat is manually adjustable. Seat itself is actually really nice and comfy. So if you are doing any long distance drive with the kids, it is actually really nice to sit in. Nice contour there as well, so it's pretty decent seating setup. Steering offers both tilt and reach adjustment. On our reach test, some of the buttons here on the outer edge are a little hard to grab, so you've got to kind of lean in to get that home button. I would have thought that would be a better bet to have that stuck on this side instead. So, second row of the Palisade. This is a big old door. Have a look at that thing. Opens nice and wide as well, which is good news. Back here, legroom, bloody huge. And then you've got stacks of tow room. Headroom is excellent as well. This row also slides forwards and backwards if you do need to give your third row a little bit more room. You can also get this in a 7 or 8 seat configuration, and in the 7 seat configuration, this is used as a pass-through here to the 3 seats in the back. Creature comforts, you have your third zone of climate control here. You have a 12-volt outlet down the bottom here, plus 2 USB-C ports built into the seats. Map pockets as well. 16 cup holders in total inside the cabin, so a couple there inside the door. You can also throw a bottle down there as well. You have a center armrest here with another 2 cup holders, plus a little coffee holder in the center there, which is good. Out of the way. Now, seating. You have ISOFIX points on these 2 outboard seats. In addition to that, you also have 5 top tether points. So 3 along here and then 2 along 3 of your third row seats as well. So stacks of seating options there if you do have a litany of children. Window test. So it's auto up and down. Oh, look at that. Goes all the way down as well. Very impressive. Now, third row. Let's have a little sticky beak. I want to see if we can fit adults in there. So you've got a button here that allows all of that to slide forward. I'll hop on in, see what this is like. All right, so pull this back, lock that into position. Okay, so it's actually not too bad back here. So I've got a decent amount of knee room. Toe room is restricted, but not terrible. I should actually point out as well, there is actually an ISOFIX point here on my seat as well. So that means you've got 2 on the outboard seats here, 1 on this one, plus all of your top tethers. So here's a pretty good space there in terms of getting kids in, which is good. Sean, what's knee room like down there? I'm just curious. Okay, so it is a little bit cramped when you do compare those two, but it's not terrible. So yes, an adult can fit in here. And then in terms of your creature comforts, you have air vents up the top here, airbag coverage for all 3 rows, USB-C ports, and also some more cup holders because you can never have too many cup holders. So let's talk cargo space. How much room have we got here? Crack this open, powered tailgate, well, Matrix style. Gonna jump out of the way. So you have just over 300 litres of capacity available here with the third row in place. I think this is a really sort of usable space as well, because if you look under here, you actually have a fair bit of storage there, including storage for the cargo blind. You also have a full-size spare under there as well. It is quite remarkable how much they can package into these things when they actually put some effort into it. So see if it fits our bags. So there's the laptop bag. Yeah, no dramas at all. Very impressive. So to clear yourself a little bit more room, you can ditch your third row. That folds away into the floor there. The only downside to this is getting the third row up. You've got to lean all the way in and pull it up, which can be a little cumbersome, but it's not the end of the world. So this space here is just over 700 litres, and you can expand that even more by moving your second row forward. That means you do have a slightly more versatile space to play with. Over here you'll find a subwoofer, a 12-volt outlet, plus a couple of hooks off to the sides as well. The other good news is that you can drop the second row easily here using these buttons. So one push of each of those and that disappears as well. Gives you a space of just under 1,300 litres with a flat floor as well. So we have just hit the road in the Palisade. This is actually one of one of my favourite engines out there, and it's kind of weird. We tested the, was it the Carnival ages ago with this engine, and it's just so smooth and enjoyable to drive. It's a 3.8 litre naturally aspirated petrol V6. Makes a little over 200 kilowatts of power and just over 350 newton meters of torque. And it's all mated to a normal gearbox, so an 8-speed torque converter. And as a result of that, it's really just nice and smooth. You can just rest on the throttle, just starts delivering torque, and then when you do stand on it, kind of just arcs into action and everything sort of picks up and moves. The only downside to it all though is that it is front wheel drive. And what you do find is that if you're a bit greedy with the throttle sometimes, you're fighting traction control constantly. But just to exaggerate what I mean, I'm going to switch stability control off here, just so you can kind of get a feel for it. So going around a bend here, I'm then just going to nail the throttle, and then you get that inside front wheel spinning. So what I basically mean by all that is that if it is wet, even if it is sort of fairly dry here and you need to stand on it, you're always going to be fighting that power and that torque, especially in a front wheel drive application, which is why I wish this engine was available with all wheel drive. So how does all that feel behind the wheel? Well, it's actually a surprisingly quick gearbox. I kind of lament the fact that a lot of manufacturers have gone down the path of dual clutches for efficiency, because dual clutches were the performance gearbox and now they're all about efficiency. This, on the other hand, just really nice and responsive. It's always eager to drop down through some gears and get you in that optimum torque band. So there's a really nice combo there between the engine and also the transmission. Now, if you put all that to one side though, 10.7 litres per 100 Ks is the combined fuel economy. We are currently sitting on, let me whip through our menu here. We're currently sitting on 11.4. I reckon 11.4 is pretty good. What you find typically with Kluger and those bigger V6 naturally aspirated petrol SUVs is they do tend to suck through a bit of juice. If this was available in all-wheel drive, it would probably use even more juice, because at the end of the day you are countering those efficiency losses through the drivetrain by using more petrol. So I think it is a good engine for this combination, but yeah, just wish it was available in all-wheel drive. Let's talk about the ride. So Hyundai has killed most of its local ride and handling tuning program. As a result of that, this comes just with a base tune that is delivered with the car, and I actually think it's pretty good. It did have a sign off here in Australia by the local team, but I think they've done a good job here in smoothing everything out. It's nice in and around the city, and then as the speed picks up as well, it is still really nice and comfortable, even if you have a full load of passengers on board. Okay, sine waves. Let's dial the speed up to 130 Ks an hour and see what it feels like here. So 130 is the maximum speed limit in Australia. This car had no local ride and handling tune, so we'll see how it fares with the sine waves. It's actually not terrible. It's far better than I thought it was. This is a US market car, and given that tune in the back of your mind, you would expect it to be quite bad over the sine waves, because they are often softly sprung, but it actually feels really nice and competent there, even though they didn't do any tuning here in Australia. Let's talk drive modes. So you select them using this lever here. Once you flick through them on the screen there, you can see the display changes. Pop it into sport. See what it's like around our track here. A bit of understeer there, given it is a front wheel drive, but this is such a perky engine. Once you're in the torque band of this engine, it really picks up and moves. I love the noise as well. It sounds fantastic once it's moving along. And look, even though it is a front wheel drive, I mentioned earlier on those issues with traction at lower speeds, but you can manage to hear at higher speeds, even though this isn't built as a sporty vehicle, it actually holds on really nicely, and that the ride that they've dialed into it really complements the package too. It smooths it out nicely if you're hitting bumps mid-corner. Actually surprisingly nimble for something this size. Obviously you're not going to be doing this type of driving all the time, but if you do want to venture out and go for a little fang, it is actually pretty engaging. Give it a punch on the back straight here. That is moving. That is absolutely moving. Wow, okay, there you go. Nice on Hyundai. Okay, let's talk 0 to 100. So there is no official time from Hyundai, but pop it into sport mode. It is a tiny bit damp out there, so I'll switch stability control off as well, just so we have an ability to get traction here. So V-Box is ready. We'll go all the way up to 120 as well. So here we go. A little bit of wheel slip. Okay. Once it hooks up, it is absolutely moving. All right, there it is there. Come to a full stop and have a look at that time. So 0 to 100 in 7.5 seconds and 80 to 120 in 4.5. So really healthy numbers there. Okay, time for our reverse speed test. We tested the, what was it, the Kia Seltos the other day, and it did like 75 in reverse. So I wonder if it's a Korean car thing. So here we go. Oh, it's moving, holy crap. Oh, 76 k's an hour. That is ridiculous. That is actually ridiculous. I am so impressed with that. Yes, very good. Okie dokie, it's time to do some testing of the lane support systems here. So I'm going to get this up to 70 k's an hour and we'll switch on cruise control. So there it is there. We'll just dial that up to 70. It's a bit hard to see everything with all of these GoPros. There we are. So you can see that flashing there. That is our lane departure warning and lane keeping assistant. But then when I push this button here on the steering wheel, it brings up the steering wheel, and that is basically your lane centering function. So we're going to test it in the 3 outer lanes here. The whole concept of this is not to test what the car is like on a banked oval. It has nothing to do with it. It's more to test how much torque the car is willing to apply to the wheel to keep it within its lane. So we find some of the newer cars with the better systems will hold our third lane where it is quite a steep bank, whereas the worser cars won't work, and Volkswagens don't even work at all in that third lane. So let's give this a shot. So right now, working great here in our first lane. I'll jump over to the next lane over. This will get progressively harder. We'll see how it holds that. Wait for all that to go green. There it is there. So it's doing this, yeah, okay, cool. So we've got everything now. We're riding that line. We're basically on that line right now, slowly bringing us into the center. But if I was actually driving, I would have yanked the wheel over, because if there was a truck or something like that, I wouldn't want to be sitting next to that. So it's not that good. It's taking us back over to that line, and it's now crossed the line. So I don't have high hopes for the third lane here, but we'll give it a shot anyway and see how it works. So I'll wait for that to try and detect the lines. So it's detected the lanes, but it's not activating our steering function. I suspect the angle is too steep here. So, yep. No bueno for lane number 3, just a pass for lane number 1, and lane number 2 was still a tiny bit sketchy as well. Now, what about your road noise? It's actually pretty quiet in here. Even when you are on the coarse chip sections of country road, you don't have a huge amount of noise coming into the cabin. So it's quite impressive in that regard, and I think that they've done a really good job ironing out all of that sort of inherent stuff that you hear, wind noise, tyre noise. Even on a day like today where it is really windy, I'm really not hearing a great deal at highway speeds. Turning circle comes in at just under 12 meters, and if you do want to do some towing, it's a little over 2 tons with a brake trailer, which is short of the 2,700 kilos you can do with the Pathfinder. So the Hyundai Palisade, I don't know what it is, but the Pathfinder and this, it kind of makes you want to find a whole bunch of kids that you need to transport, because it is actually a really impressive SUV. It is a great shame it's not offered as an all-wheel drive with that petrol V6 though. I think that is like the ultimate misery in the Hyundai range. You have to go down the path of the diesel, and I don't know, I think this is just a much better engine. So hopefully someone at Hyundai is listening and they end up doing an all-wheel drive version of the petrol V6, because it is a really nice all-rounder. You don't really need to step up to the top spec, well, unless you want automatic windscreen wipers. Now, let me know, have you bought a Palisade? What is it like? Did you go for the diesel or did you go for the petrol? Let me know in the comments section down there. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it, you share it with your mates, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. But until next time, take it easy.